This is Theprom, question 13 from section A of paper 2 from the 2019 sitting. It's a question on calculating overhead absorption rates. So we've got two departments and we've got a whole load of information about the different things that might be relevant to calculating an overhead absorption rate. So some information about the cost of machinery, the floor area, the number of labour hours and machine hours for each department, and then the number of employees that we've got. So we've also got these overheads, 3 different overheads: rent, machine depreciation, and supervisors' salaries. And what we've got to do is absorb those into the units of output. If you remember that absorption costing takes the overheads, shares them between the departments, and then we choose the most appropriate way to absorb those overheads into units of output, either using labour hours or machine hours. So before we can do the actual overhead absorption rate, we've got to share or apportion the overheads. There's no direct allocation. None of these overheads belong just to Department A or just to Department B. Remember, if your supervisor perhaps worked only in Department B, you could allocate that directly to Department B. But with these 3 overheads, we've got to share them. So the process is to share them using the most appropriate basis, and remembering that the basis for sharing overheads will never be labour hours and it will never be machine hours. Those are not appropriate methods for sharing or apportioning overheads. They are only used for calculating the overhead absorption rate at the end. Okay, so just don't be tempted to, for example, I've seen questions where people have decided to apportion machinery depreciation on the basis of machine hours. And you think, well, maybe that's quite logical, or they've done supervisors' salaries on the basis of labour hours. And I can see why that sort of mistake would occur, but that's not the most appropriate basis. So what we want to do is just set out a little schedule here, Department A, Department B, and we're just going to share the overheads between those 2 departments. So what we need to do is first of all decide on a basis. So for rent, I'm going to suggest that the most appropriate basis there is going to be floor area. Okay, so what we need to do is find out what the total is. Well, we can see that that's 25,000 metres squared. So if we divide the 87,700 by the 25,000 metres squared, and then we can either multiply it by 10,000 metres squared or 15,000 metres squared to find the right amount here. So let's have a look then. So the rent is 87,700. We're dividing it by, I'm going to not put all the zeros in, dividing it by 25, which is the total, timesing it by 10, and that gives us 35,080 to go into Department A. We can do the same for Department B. So 87,700, divide it by the 25,000, and then times it by 15,000 metres, gives us 52,620 in there. Okay, we can do exactly the same. So machinery depreciation, usually you're looking there for either the net book value, or in this case, we've got the cost of the machinery. So let's do it on the basis of that. So again, let's find out what the total cost is across both departments. So I'm just adding these 2 figures here, 38,150. So it's actually going to give us a total of 657,750. That's how we're going to share it out. So we'll divide the 131,550, which is depreciation for the year, by the total cost, 657,750, and then multiply it by the relevant figures for each department. So 279,600 for Department A and 378,150 for Department B. So if we do that, so 131,550 is the total amount, divide it by the 657,750 times 279,600, and that gives us 55920 there. If we do the same, 131,550 for Department B, 657,750, times it by 378,150, and that gives us 75,630. It might be worth just checking that we've done it right, actually adding these 2 together before we go any further, so making sure that that comes back to the 131,550. Probably should have done it there. Adding those 2 together does in fact come back to the 87,700. So supervisors' salaries then is going to be on the number of employees. We've got 45 employees here, not on the number of labour hours. That wouldn't make sense. So supervisor's salary, if we divide that by 45, that's the total, and then times it by either 30 for Department A or times it by 15 for Department B. So basically, 2/3 of that is going into Department A, 39,000, divided by 26,000 into Department A, and 13,000 into Department B. Okay, so we can then add these up, find out what the total overheads for each department are. So 117 for Department A and 52,620, 75630, 13,000, 141,250 for Department B. So what we've done there is apportion the overheads between the two departments. Now what we've got to do, because we haven't actually finished yet, is calculate the overhead absorption rate. Now we've got to state the basis of the method used. So we've got to choose between labour hours or machine hours for each department, and we can do a different one for each department. And the way to solve this is effectively to look for the higher of the two figures. So if labour hours is higher, as it is in Department A, that's going to be the one you use because it's more labour intensive. So Department A is going to be on labour hours. Okay, it's not asking us to justify that method, but if we were asked to justify it, it's because it's more labour intensive. So don't just say because it's the highest figure, although between you and me, that is why we're choosing it. So divide that by 36,000 labour hours, and then that's going to give us the overhead absorption rate. So for Department A, 117 divided by 36, get rid of the zeros again just to make it a bit quicker. So it's £3.25 per labour hour. Okay, for Department B, it's going to be on the basis of machine hours because it's more machine intensive. So if you have a look here, we've got 20,000 labour hours and 28,250 machine hours. So if we divide it by 28, oops, make sure I'm right, 28,250, that will give us the overhead absorption rate. So 141, the total of the overheads for that department, 250 divided by 28,250 is £5. So that one is £5 per machine hour. Okay, and that's all there is to it. Thanks very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and you'll get a notification of any future posts. Thank you.